Okay, today we're going to look at something that's been trending in the Cisco collaboration world, and that is the migration to the cloud. In today's video, what we're going to do is we're going to migrate Jabber users to Webex. Okay, now in my opinion, this is the perfect way to get started with migrating to the cloud. It is not too hard to do. It's rather simple, it's rather easy to do. And so it gets things going, takes out Jabber out of the mix, starts Webex, uh, starts people using the Webex app for what they use Jabber for. And it's really a good way to get started. Okay, so a few assumptions here. This is our topology. Okay, we have Callmanager, IMP, Unity, all on premise. Okay, we haven't moved anything to the cloud yet, unless you have WebEx meetings already in the cloud, which is fine. That's something that you can do along with this. That means you already have Control Hub. You just need to have a few things added to be able to add your hybrid calling, your hybrid calendar, and things like that. And so now, if you don't have WebEx meetings, that's okay. If you don't have anything with WebEx, that's okay. You just need to contact your partner or your Cisco account manager and let them know we want to start moving to the cloud. We want to start with moving our Jabber users to the cloud. They will get you all set up with Control Hub and get that all taken care of. Okay, so here's our topology of what we're using. Full disclosure here, I am using Cisco's dcloud to show this to you. So if you haven't used dcloud, it is a fantastic training resource that Cisco has. They get everything set up. It's all done. It has VMware and has all that taken care of. And it is a very nice resource. Okay, so I've got a couple of workstations here that I'm going to be using, okay, to show you all this. And so without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing I want to show you is from our topology. I also want to just show you what are that everything is working as far as logging into Jabber as of right now. So this is going to be our first user. He's going to be also our main user. And we're just going to go ahead and log into Jabber. Now this is on the inside of the network. Okay. Now if you notice, it is configured for OAuth. Put our username and password in there. And here we've got our Jabber. We've got our users. We're connected as far as callings. Everything is working perfectly in Jabber. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and exit out of this because later on we're going to be needing to do that when we log into Webex. Okay. All right. I also want to show you that we are set up with logging into Jabber from outside through Expressway. So that's mobile and remote access. From the topology here, we've got our Expressway C and our Expressway E all set up for mobile and remote access. Okay, so this is a PC that is outside of the network. Okay, it finds the settings and brings up our OAuth login. And there we are connected. Okay, so our MRA is working. We can see our calling is working through MRA, and our internal Jabber is working. So everything is looking good at this point. Okay, again, I'm going to log out. Okay, and we're going to now get ready for moving our users to Webex. Let's verify our control hub. To do that, we're going to go to our first workstation. And dcloud has this all set up for you. So if we just launch our Chrome browser here, it's got a whole bunch of links in here, and we're going to take a look at our, let's see, where is the control hub? Right there. Okay, now we need our admin user. When you get this set up, this is going to be, you're going to set that up all in your control hub when you set it up. And so it'll set you up with a admin user, and then you can provide admin access to any user that you want that you add in there. So okay, I entered an incorrect password. I believe that's correct. Okay, here's our overview page. All right. Few things that we're going to look at here. It's already got 10 users in here, but I'm going to go over how we're going to import users. Okay, and we've got all of our Webex services. Okay, and they are online. Okay, here's our hybrid services that we're going to use as far as call and calendar. We might take a look at message as well, which would be if you needed to do a subset of users and do them slowly. So you do a group of users that you migrate from Jabber to Webex, and you still want those Jabber users to be able to message to Webex and vice versa. Then you can do a hybrid messaging, which will allow you to communicate between them if you don't want to do it all at once. Okay, so the next thing we're going to take a look at is we're going to take a look at our organization here. Okay, we're going to go to organization settings. Actually, we're going to go to account. Okay, now we have our company name. Okay, we have our organization ID. This is important because we're going to be using that a little bit later. If we go to our services, we've got and we take a look at our hybrid. These are all of our hybrid services. Few that we're going to take a look at. Specifically, we're definitely going to take a look at calendar. And again, like I said, possibly messaging. And as you can see, the hybrid calendar, we can connect to on-premise Exchange, which is what we're going to do today. We can connect to Office 365, and we can connect to a Google Calendar. Okay. We're also going to take a look at the hybrid calling. Now this, as it says, is hybrid calling that provides unified CM on-premises calling capabilities to your Webex client. Okay. Now, the Webex client uses the same CSF device that you created for each user. And so we'll be taking a look at that once we have that set up. So we're going to go back to our organization settings. We're going to take a look at our domain. And we need to verify this, that it is verified. Okay, we need to check that out. Now, there is a process for you to do that. If you click on there, it shows you how to claim your domain, and you have to work with your certificate authority, if it's GoDaddy or whatever, where your domain host is located. And there is a process to be able to claim that so that it can be claimed within Webex, and Webex can see that it is that it is your domain. Okay. Okay, next we're going to take a look at users. Okay, we can see that we have several users there. Okay, now we're going to take a look at our licensing template. Okay, so we're going to go to a little button right here that says licenses. Okay, now what we need to do is, what we're doing here is making sure that when we add a user, when we import users, that a license is automatically going to be assigned to them. Okay, so we don't have any problem with the licenses. And what we do is we go ahead and we go to setup. Okay, and we take a look at what our offerings here are. Okay, so we want to make sure that Webex Teams is selected. And for meetings, we want to make sure that all of these are connected. Okay, so our domain, our Webex Assistant, our Webex Teams meetings. Okay, calling is going to come later. And this is more of, if it shows it, it's Webex free calling. Now, built into Webex is calling that you can do to other Webex users. Okay, you can automatically do that to any Webex user and be able to call between the clients. Okay, but as far as your Webex calling in the cloud, that is not set up yet, or the on-premise, which we're going to take a look at. Okay, and we click on next, and that is correct. So we go ahead and save. All right. Okay, so that licensing part is set up. Okay, and now what we need to do is look at importing our users. Okay, so I'm going to show you a quick picture here. Okay, before I show you that for the messaging, I want to show you this is where we are. Okay, this is, let's say you have Jabber users and you have your Expressway, and you also have Webex meetings, okay? And this is what takes place basically when you're using those. You've got your Webex meeting app that goes out to the Cisco Webex cloud, okay? Whether you are inside the network or out, okay? You've got your Jabber users that connect to your Callmanager and IMP, okay? And then if you are outside the network, your Jabber users connect through the firewall to your Expressway E, to your Expressway C, and then on to Callmanager and IMP, okay? So what we're trying to do is to go from here to here, where we have one app using for both our presence and meetings that we can use either inside the network or outside the network. Okay. And let's move on to the connector. Okay. So right now, what you have is you're connected to Active Directory with your users for your Callmanager and your voicemail. Okay. Connected through there. And what we want to get to is we want to have a directory connector that's going to have access to your Active Directory and then take those users and import them into the Webex cloud. So that's what we're looking for, okay? And the directory connector, which gets installed on an Expressway device, not your Expressway C, which is being used for your MRA, but a separate Expressway device is what is going to be used to connect that, okay? There's also a software that is being placed onto a server or a PC, most likely a server, something that's going to be on all the time. And that connector, it can be installed on your Active Directory server, or it can be installed on your Exchange server. It can any server that you can access the Active Directory server with, okay? And so that's what we're going to be taking a look at. Okay, so we're going to be doing this on our on the first workstation, okay? And so let's start taking a look at that. Okay, next we're going to click on Avatar. Okay, we're going to go ahead and enable that. And what we're going to do is we want to have it search for the avatar that is part of each user's user record. Okay. Now this is you can search for this. You can do a Google search for this to find out that URI pattern to find the avatar, and that's what it is. So we're going to go ahead and set that in, and we're going to go ahead and apply. Okay. And again, we're going to apply the config changes, not do a dry run. Okay. And now we're going to go back to dashboard. Okay. And we're next going to go to sync dry run. Yes, we really want to do it. Okay, so now it's going to do a dry run. It hasn't imported anything yet, and it's not going to import on the dry run. It's just reaching out to the server to verify that it will work. In this particular case, it found 4 mismatched objects. So this is something that you may run into. Okay, you may have users that are already in Webex and they're not matching up with users that are in Active Directory. In this particular case, these 4 users are not in Active Directory. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and keep those objects. Okay, now we just did a dry run. It asks you if you want to do it again because you just had the mismatched objects. We just did that, so we don't need that. Okay. Actually, we're going to go ahead and do one more dry run just so that you can see what comes up after it sees that there is mismatched objects. Okay. It gives you a summary of what you just saw. Okay. We just added 12 objects. Okay. We had 6 that were matched. That means there were users that we had already put in and they matched from Active Directory, so they're going to sync together. And there were 4 that were not matched from the Active Directory. Okay. Okay. Next, we're going to go ahead and click on Actions. We're going to go to synchronization mode and enable synchronization. Okay. So that we don't need to do a dry run. We just did it. Okay. And enable now. Okay. Now we can see our status is green, it's idle, okay? Again, we haven't really imported anything yet, okay? The dry run just showed you what it would do, and we haven't, and even though we have enabled it, it hasn't started a sync yet, okay? So we're gonna go ahead and now go back to actions. This is now able to be done before it was grayed out, and we're gonna do a full synchronization. Okay, says it may take some time. So, and now it's going. So we do a full synchronization at the beginning to make sure that everybody's in there. Then at specified times that we have in here, it will then do an incremental sync to pick up any new users that you have in your Active Directory. So as you go along, you add a new user, it will automatically add them into Webex. Okay. If you have a set of new users or even one particular user that you want to make sure that you just added into Active Directory and you want to add them to Webex, then you can bring up the directory connector, you can do a full resync, you can even do an incremental resync, and it will pull them in, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and let this go and fast forward until it's complete, and then we'll move on. Our synchronization is complete. So the sync is complete, and we are going to take a look at our users in Webex. And now we have 18 users. We had 10 before. Okay, so some were already in there, the ones that were not in Active Directory, you notice that they are now saying not verified, which is fine. Okay. Now, let's say you want to add someone else as an administrator. You don't want to have just the one person, you want to have more than one person. Let's say that Anita Perez is going to be an administrator. So we're going to go to click on her, the sidebar comes in, click on administrator roles. We're going to go and choose organization administrator. She's going to be a full administrator. Okay, and we click on save. Now you can set other kinds. You can set a read-only administrator, and you can set that this person is not going to be a support administrator, which means they probably won't be able to go into troubleshooting, things like that. Device administrator means they can add devices and things like that. So at this time, we're making Anita a full administrator. We click on Save. And successfully updated. Okay, so we can close that now. Now we're going to take a look at the calling part of things. We're going to make sure that the Webex client is able to make and receive calls through the call manager, just as the Jabber was doing. Okay, so we're going to take a look at our organization settings. And we're going to go down to calling behavior right here. So right now it's set for calling in Webex. That means your it can be your Webex calling. It can be a kind of hybrid calling, and we can also set this for a Webex calling app, Jabber app, and things like that. But what we're going to be doing is clicking on calling in Webex Unified CM. That's where it's going to reach out to the call manager to be able to register and be able to use the SIP trunks or whatever calling to the PSTN that you have. Okay, it automatically takes that and automatically saves when you do that. Okay, so let's take a look at our, not that one. Let's take a look. Oh, we can do it here. We're going to go ahead and log in to our Webex. First, I want to show you. I want to go ahead and open up a new Chrome so we get that. We're going to go to Call Manager. Log into Call Manager. And we're going to take a look at this CSF device for Charles Holland. Okay, device and phone. Find. Okay. Now you see we have several devices here. We've got our CTI remote device. Okay. And I believe that's the device that we need to look at. Here's our CSF device. Okay, so we look at our CSF device for Charles Holland. We look like it is unregistered. Okay. And then we're going to see what happens when we log into our Webex. Okay, we need his user with email. Sign in. And we come up with our OAuth authentication here. That's coming from Call Manager so that we know that that is working. Okay, we immediately get this, which we wouldn't have gotten before. Okay, emergency calling notification. Okay. And we are logged in and we have call settings. Okay. So if we go to here, we'll be able to make calls. Okay. So we are all set. Now let's take a look at our call manager. To find on that again, we'll go to our second page for our device. And it is not registered for some reason. Oh, sorry, it is registered. I was reading it wrong. That's exactly what we're looking for. It's now registered with the client device. We do not have Jabber on, so that's the only other way that it would be registered is if Jabber was on, but now it is registered with our Webex device, so we know that calling is coming through the call manager. So now let's take a look at our outside workstation. And we're going to log in with a different user, and that's going to be Anita Perez. So we'll log in with her user. And put in the password. And interesting that it did not sign into the phone services. Let's see if we can click on that address. Let's take a look at her user. Maybe there is something wrong with the user. Let's see. We do have a CSF device. Oh, for some reason, the calling is set for Webex free calling. So we're going to go ahead and change that. And it's not letting us do it there. Okay, so I did a little troubleshooting in the background, and I found out that I had to log in Anita on the inside first before it would come up through MRA. So now it's connected through, it's going to be connected through MRA. And we are now connected. Okay, so let's go ahead and see if we can make a call. Okay, so we're gonna look for a person. Okay, search and dial. we're going to look for Anita. There is Anita Perez. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and make an audio call. Okay, we're calling. And we answer the call. Okay, so we are connected in the call. Okay, so we'll go ahead and hang up that call. And as you can see, and now automatically Charles is put into our setup here, into our users contacts, and because we just called them. Okay, so the calls work. All right, the next step that we're going to look at is enabling our calendar connector. So let's take a look at our topology again. So as we stated before, we've got our Cisco Expressway E and our Cisco Expressway C, and we've also got our Cisco Expressway connector. Okay, that's where we're going to connect all of our connectors that will allow us to work in with our hybrid services. Okay, so we're going to go back to our control hub. And here's our control hub. Okay, we're going to go to our hybrid services. And in this particular environment, we have an on-premise Exchange 2016 server. So we're going to go ahead and choose our Exchange hybrid calendar. If you were looking at Office 365, then you would use this one and set that up. If you're using Google, then you would use that one and set that one up. So in this case, we're going to do Exchange. Okay, it's going to ask us for a few things. First thing is the host name of our expressway that we're going to use for the connector. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and put the host name in. And then we're going to put a cluster name. In this case, it's cluster 1. Okay. We're going to complete the registration and configure the connector. What this is actually going to do is reach out to that connector and install that service. Okay, so go ahead and click on Next, and it automatically takes us to that connector login. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and log in. And it asks us how we want to handle our certificates. Okay, if we want to handle them inside, in this case, Cisco always recommends that we let Cisco manage the expressway certificate, authority certificates. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and click on that. So Webex is going to take care of the certificates. We're going to update the software and verify the connection. Okay, and now we want to go ahead and click on register to be able to register it with Webex. Okay, it comes up and asks us to allow the access to the expressway. Okay, let's refresh that. Okay, and now we've got our management connector and our calendar connector, okay? It says it's not installed. I believe it's going to be so we need to go and enable it. Is that right? Let's hold on a second. That's right. We don't want to enable it quite yet. We need to let it install. Okay. And so now it's installing. As soon as that is installed, then it will come up here and we will need to configure the Exchange server before we enable the connector. We're going to let that install. Okay, so it is installed now. Okay, now first thing that we need to do before we can configure the Exchange server is we need to do a couple of things on the Exchange server itself. Okay, I've got a couple of commands here, and we're going to use the Exchange management shell to take care of the things that we need to do here. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to create an account, and it needs to be given the role of an impersonation account. Okay, and there's a throttling policy that we need to do, and a few things like that. Now, a few of these things have already been done. That's part of this dcloud environment. Okay, so the impersonation account has been already created. The throttling policy has been done. And so there's only a couple of things that we need to do to get this ready. So these are the commands. If you want to copy them down, I'll put them in the description down below so that you guys will have them. Let's go ahead and take care of this. So first we want to get throttling policy association and see that it is there, that it is working. Okay, there it is. Hybrid calendar, that's what it was set for. Okay, and next we need to create a new mailbox, which is specifically, this is for if when you are creating a new room device. Okay, so let's say you've got either a DX80 or you've got a room kit or something that is going to be used in a particular room that you want to set up so that you can schedule it with your meetings. Okay, and so this is the command that you will do in the Exchange to set that up so that it will be created as a room. And you see the dash room at the end there. So we're going to create this one that's just called Webex Room Device. And this is just to show you guys what, how to do that and how to set that up in the Webex as well. Okay. And that's it. That's all we have to do in the Exchange. So we restart the RPC, and I have a bat file here that's going to go ahead and take care of that really quick. And now we can go ahead and take a look and configure our Exchange server in the connector expressway. Okay. So here is our, we want to put the account name that we just created in the Exchange, which that's what we set up for it. So that's with the domain and the username that we created as the impersonator account. Okay, and we'll put in the password. Okay, we'll put in display name. Okay. We want it to be Exchange on-premise. If you click on that, you see you have on-premise and Office 365. If you had chosen the Google, it would have shown up as Google there. Okay. So yes, we want it to be enabled. Okay. Those checks are good. We do not need TLS at this point. Okay, we're going to use auto discover. If you're an Exchange administrator, you know what that means. Okay, our Active Directory domain, in this case, is dcloud, Cisco. Okay, our query mode does not need to be secure, so we're going to put LDAP. Okay, and email address for issues to be sent to, and that's our administrator. And we're going to click on add. Not able to find the specified server. I think, did we miss a section? Okay. Okay. Okay, I did a little bit of troubleshooting in the background here, and we had to put in our fully qualified domain name here for this one. It must be something to do with the DNS and how it's set up, but we were able to get it done, and so it is now auto discovered, and we don't have a status yet because we need to go in and enable it. Now, first, we need to take a look back at our control hub, and we're going to take a look back at our hybrid configuration. And see that it's there, but it's not operational, not quite yet. So let's go back to our Expressway C, and we're going to go to Hybrid Services and Calendar Service. And let's see, which one is that? Yeah, conferencing. And Calendar Service and Cisco Conferencing Services. This is where we're going to set up our Webex conferencing. We're going to click on New. Okay, and now we need our site name from Webex. Okay, we get that from our account page, and it's right here. That is not the one we need. I believe it is this. Actually, I think it's over here in our meeting tab, and there is our site name right there. Okay, so we can copy that. Go back to our Expressway C, put in our site name. Our username and password, we can leave blank. Default site, yes, and we're going to add that. Okay, and now we can go back to our connector management and we can click on our connector and enable and save. Saved. I'm going to go back to our hybrid services, which is going to bring us to our connector. And now we are running. Now let's take a look at our control hub, our hybrid services. We are not quite yet operational there. Let's go ahead and go to our users. We're going to pick a few of our users and we're going to take the calendar service and we're going to turn it on. Okay, Microsoft Exchange and save. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and do that to a couple more users. So if we take a look at this, we can see that it's pending activation. It will take a little bit of time for that to take place. And so I'll go ahead and fast forward this until that is complete and catch you up when that's done. Okay, so our calendar service has activated for all of the users that we asked it to do. Activated, and Kelly is activated. So we're going to go ahead and move on. And we're going to look at adding a room device. So we're going to look at workspaces over here and add a workspace. Okay, so let's say that this device is a DX80, so it's a desk device. Okay, and we're going to give it a name. Okay, we're going to select what kind of device it is. Okay, so it's a desk device. The other ones are a focus, meeting room, open space, things like that. But this one's a DX80, so we're going to do that. And capacity 4 people. Okay, so that automatically changed when we set that to desk. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and click on next. Okay, we're going to say, what is this? Is it a IP phone or is it a device? So it's a room device. Okay, so click on that and next. Okay, and then we need to enable the calendar service on it. And next. Okay, now we need to give it an email address. Okay, now the email address that we used before is when we created this mailbox. We remember that we created a mailbox on the Exchange with and set it as a room, right? So now we need to give that that email that we set up for there in here, and I have that right here. I have the domain. So let's get the domain. All right, and we're going to validate it. It's going to reach out to the Exchange server and verify that it's okay. So we're going to go ahead and click on Next. Okay. Now we have here, it gives us a QR code. Okay. So we can now take this and we have both the password or the QR code that we can use with that DX80 and have it register with Webex. Okay, so that's set. And now we're going to go ahead and take a look at, I think, this one. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to test creating a meeting and see if this all works. So we bring up our Microsoft Outlook and we're going to create a new meeting. And just like that, Microsoft is not responding. Okay, here it is. All right, so new meeting. And we're going to add those users that we just added to the calendar meeting. So we're going to send something to Charles. We are going to send something to Kelly. Okay. And now we want to set up a new meeting. Okay. And now we want to put in the location field, we want to put, you can put one of three things. You can put Webex space. Okay. You can put meet, or you can put meet space. Now, all three of those will create a space in the Webex client along with the meeting. Okay, so it makes it easier to collaborate after the meeting, and you can continue discussing things in that space. Okay, so that's what that's going to do. Now we want to take a look at what our time is. 3:36. Okay, so we're going to set up a meeting for 3:40. Okay, and next we're going to take a look at rooms, and we're going to take a look. We got Webex room device. Okay, that's the one that we set up. That was our DX80 that we set up. We set that up in the Exchange, and here it is. So we're going to set that up. Now it's going to ask us, do you want to update the location for this device? In this case, we don't want to do that. We want to set this up for Webex, just to have it in Webex and have that room device be able to join it. So we're going to say no there. Okay, so now we're set up. And we can say new meeting. You can put anything else in there if you want. And we're going to go ahead and click on send. Okay, now we've got a new meeting in 3 minutes. Now in a few minutes, we're going to take a look at that meeting again, and we're going to see the Webex meeting information in there. I don't think it's going to work that quick, but so we'll give that just a little bit of time for that to come up. Okay, that only took about a minute. So there it is. So now when we open it up, we've got our Webex information all in there. Okay. And let's take a look and see what our Webex looks at. Now, if you take a look here, we've got a Webex space now, okay? And that's what we just set up, okay? Let's take a look at the other ones and see if they have it. Ah, Webex space for Anita. There it is, okay? And let's take a look at this one. Kelly has Webex space for Kelly, okay? It's all set up. And there's our new meeting, okay? So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna go back to Anita first, just here. I'm gonna go new meeting and meet and join meeting. Okay, we don't have a microphone, unfortunately. And we'll go to meet and join meeting. Okay, we've now got Kelly and Anita in the meeting, and we're gonna go to Charles and meet and join meeting. Okay, so now we've got all three in the meeting. We've got with Charles, he can see Kelly and Anita, okay, and then we've got all three in the meeting, okay. Although it says that Charles is not in the meeting, let's see what's wrong there. Okay, that's, if we not, okay. We don't have Charles in the meeting yet. And join meeting. All right, there we go. We got all three of them in the meeting now. Okay, so that's how that works. Okay, so let's go ahead and end that call. Make sure that it's ended for all of them, and that one, and there. So we've ended it for all of them, okay? And now what we need to do is we're gonna take a look at actually migrating our users. Okay, so let's log into Callmanager. There we go. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go to user management, user settings, and UC service. And what we're going to do is we're looking at our Jabber config profile. Now in 12.5, that Jabber config profile is on Callmanager, okay? And it's as a UC service. So we're going to go to the Jabber config. And now we need to add a couple of policy items here that is going to tell Jabber the next time it logs in that we're going to be migrating, okay? And so what we need to do is we're going to go ahead and add custom, because this one is not part of the parameters that are in there. It's going to be a policy, okay? And it's going to be right here. The name of it is Enable Jabber to Teams Migration, okay? And the value is going to be true, okay? Now we're going to add one more custom, and we're gonna give it what the Webex Teams URL is going to be, where they need to go to download the client. Okay, so this is going to tell the users where they need to go to download the client. Okay, and it's going to be here. And I'll go ahead again. I'll put these in the description down below of what you need to do here. but it's the URL and then, ooh, let me make sure I did that right. Okay. And then if you take a look at this, it's webex.com downloads. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and click on save with that. And if you notice, they came up right here for that one, and then enable Jabber to Teams migration there. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and close Teams. Okay. And we're going to open up Jabber. Okay. So we're already logged in. Okay. Now, what's going to happen is that this can take time, or you can do it manually. So at a certain point, it can happen within minutes. It can happen a couple of hours later. But at some point in time, a pop-up is going to just pop up on their screen, and they will be able to start looking at moving. Okay. But if we want to do that manually, what we're going to do is we're going to go to File and Help, and we're going to say Move Data to Webex. Now, what this is going to do is it's going to take our contacts and any other settings that we have in Jabber and move them to Webex. Okay, so this is the pop-up. So it happens automatically, or you can go to that and it will pop up manually. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and go to Next. Okay, it's asking, what do we want to move? Do we want to move our contacts and our preferences? Okay, move to Webex. Okay, and so depending on how many contacts you have, it'll take from just a few seconds to a couple of minutes. In this case, we don't have very much, so we're just doing and it automatically opened up Webex to get that information in there, and it's all moved. Okay, it's not there yet, but it's all moved, and we need to restart Webex for it to come up with that new information. Okay. It says our phone is in use because Jabber is still open, but we're going to go ahead and click on yes. Okay. All right. And now if we take a look, we've got our contacts in there, okay, from Jabber. And that's how that works. All right. So one last thing that we're going to take a look at is the hybrid messaging service. So if we go to our control hub, we go to hybrid, and we have hybrid message. And we're going to click on next. Okay. And now it's asking us, like it did with our connector, our other connector, it's going to ask us for our Expressway hostname. Okay. So again, we're going to put in the same one, and it's already there since we did it earlier. And we're going to click on next. Okay. And log in. Okay. So I did that a little incorrect earlier. It's not going, this particular connector is not going to go on the Expressway connector that we put the calendar service on. but it's going to go on the Expressway C that we have MRA working on. Okay, so it is currently downloading, and once it's finished downloading, it's going to install. It's only going to take a couple of minutes. So now that it's installed, we're going to take a look, and we need to configure our IMMP servers in the message service. So this is the Expressway C, so it already has IMMP servers, but we do need to configure this on here for the message service. Okay, so we're going to put our IMMP server in. And we need an Axle username, an Axle account to for this for it to be able to do some of the Axle work that it needs to do. Okay, so this has already been configured in Callmanager and is ready for that. So we're going to go ahead and add. Okay. Certificate validation is on. Message connector is not running yet. Okay, so we need to go ahead and now go to the connector configuration and enable it and save. And now it's running. And if we go to hybrid services and connector management, we can see that it is now running. And if we go back to Control Hub, we're going to start this over here. Go to our hybrid. We are not operational quite yet. So I think that's going to take just a little bit longer for that to come in. And now we can see that it's operational, the hybrid message service. Okay. Now we need to go to the users, and we need to verify that they are set for the hybrid service. So we're going to go to the message service, and we're going to toggle that to on and save. Okay. Hit the X to close that. Take a look at it again. And it's activated. So that one activates pretty quick. Okay. And so if we want to do that to other users, we do the same thing. Save. Go back to the user. Got an error. Let's see if we close it and bring it back up. Still have an error. I wonder what that error is. User is not entitled to the service. Let's take a look at the license here. Okay, we go to edit. Looks like those are good. Okay, we're going to turn that off. And then we're going to turn it back on and see what, if that is still giving us an error. Okay, so I'm not sure what happened, but it took a little while, but the message service was able to be activated for the other 2 users. So I think we're fine. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to Anita. We're going to close out Webex. And we are going to, let's not do it here. We want to do it here. This is Anita's PC. We're going to exit out there and we're going to log into Jabber. Go ahead and close our Outlook here. All right, hey Perez. Okay, so we're logged in. All right, so let's go over to Kelly's. Kelly is still in there. Okay, and we're gonna go to okay. So we need to find Anita. Okay. And we're going to say, hey, can we meet now? And let's take a look at Anita's, and there we go. All right, let's see if we got that back. So we took a look at sending one to Charles. And that one worked. Not sure why the one back to Anita didn't work. Or back to Kelly. So I'm not sure why that one's not working, but it did work to Charles. So our messaging seems to be working. One little issue that we would have to troubleshoot, and that would be simple. So that's pretty much it as far as the hybrid message connector. And that is everything for migrating our users, our Jabber users, to Webex. Like I said before, I think this is a fantastic way to begin your migration to the cloud by moving your Jabber users to Webex. And if you have any issues with this, if you're following along on this in your own organizations, you have any questions, go ahead and comment below and let me know, and I'll see if I can help out. If you like this video, go ahead and like and subscribe to my channel. Hit that notification bell so that you can be notified when I have new videos. And we'll talk to you later.